I want to show you how to do a very quick restoration of a photograph, especially one that you may have found on the internet of a family member. This is in particular one that I found of Herman E. Carter, who is my wife's great uncle who served in World War One. So I want to show you how to capture, color correct, and republish and print a photograph that you see on the internet, just like this. Working on a Mac, and so all of my commands here are going to be Mac related. But the way I want to capture this image is this is an image of Herman Carter. It's off of Ancestry.com, which is the genealogy program that I use and have used for keeping up with all of my relatives. This is Herman here, and this is all the information I have about Herman. Like I said, he's my wife's great uncle. So let's do a quick restoration. I'm going to go back and find his picture, the original one that I found, and I'm going to show you how I can capture this and restore it very quickly. So first I'm going to do is I'm going to hit Shift Command 4, and you'll see my cursor turns into a little crosshair, and I'm going to capture this area of the photograph, the original photograph. And you can hear the little click. What that did was it put the image that I just captured onto my clipboard. And I keep all of my images captured on the clipboard in Dropbox. So I'm going to go open up Photoshop 2017, and I'm going to go File, Open, and I'm going to find the image of Herman Carter, and this is it right here. I'll open it up, and here is the image that I captured off the web. This is, you can tell that he's the same exact image, and I'm going to take some time here and crop it so I can get a pretty good representation of the image. Got to change the ratio to be simply a freeform crop, and it's a little bit off-centered. It's a little bit he's a little bit tilted, so I'm going to go over here, and if you get it just outside the bounding box, it'll give you a way to straighten him up in the image here, so he's standing straight and tall. And I hit enter, and I've got now a good clean image of Herman Carter. It's a little bit discolored though, so I'm going to take a second here, and I'm going to fix the discoloration. What I do for discoloration is I'm going to create a new layer by pulling down the old background, creating a new background copy. That's so that I don't ever lose my original image underneath. And the first thing I'm going to do is do an adjustment layer. This down here gives me the ability to do a levels layer, and on restoration, the way I was trained on photo restoration to color correct is to use the levels slider, and you'll see that most people take the RGB slider and they'll use this to try to even out the tone, but it's actually not as good a representation as if you click down here and go to the RGB sliders and do each individual color just to where you just start to see the colors. And I usually like to bring this in about 10. You'll see the output level about 10, and I'll drop this down about 10 the other direction and go to R, G. You'll see the image start to change, become a little more clear. It gets a little bit strange for the time being, and then I'm going to go to blue. You'll see blue's got the same discoloration, but if I drag my slider over in both directions, I suddenly get a very nice image, very good color, which is much more in keeping with what the original would have looked like. I'm going to hide that and zoom in a little bit so you can see what we've got going here. It does look pixelated. Well, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my healing brush. This is fairly simple stuff, but the healing brush, Photoshop, let me get over here on the layer. Photoshop does an amazing job with the healing brush matching up the texture of whatever you've got that is out of whack. I have no clue how it figures this stuff out. Occasionally it'll make a goof, but for the most part, in a very short amount of time, I'm able to, and you can see how it analyzes the surfaces around it. And one area that has problems with sometimes is the edges. It'll pick up an edge and reproduce the edge, but for the most part, it does a great job of cleaning up tears, wrinkles, spots, and so forth. In this case, I'm going to use my bracket key and change the size of my brush so I can get a nice clean little dot, paint out some of the areas on his face. There's a little bit there. I don't know if that's a dimple or whether that's part of his something going on with the photograph. And I'm going to show you how on this one here, even if I do a large area, it somehow magically knows that there was a color going up and down, and it is able to compensate quite nicely without a problem. And you can see how fast I'm able to go through and clean up all this. Now if I hold the space bar down, I get a little hand icon, and the hand, it just means I'm moving the image around so I can see it a little bit more clearly and clean it up. And do this, just working through this quite simply using the healing brush. Now this particular photograph was relatively clean. I didn't have to reproduce any major areas where the photograph had missing parts, missing pieces on it. Even though there were some touchy areas, the healing brush in this case was able to, for the most part, do what it needed to do. Even here, if I'm not mistaken, it cleaned that up and made changes even on the area rug here, the Oriental rug. It actually reproduced the texture of the rug and was able to clean it up really nicely. And so here I have been working, I don't know how long, a relatively short amount of time, and I have a very nicely cleaned up image. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to clean up, do a little final cleanup on it, and I'm going to save it as Herman Carter, restored. Save. And if I want to print it, all I've got to do is go File, Print, and you can see that in this case I'm going to print it out to my Epson printer, large format printer. I want to make sure that it's on an 8.5 by 11 printer. I'm going to change this to Photoshop Manages Colors, and my printer profile, I'm going to use a archival matte paper, and I'm going to come down here. I'm going to change the size, print the selected area, change to fit the media, and center it, and scale, 60%, so that's good. So now I'm able to print nicely the image. I can then also take the image back to, in my case, Ancestry.com, and I can go back, and I've already done this, and I can save it, upload the media to Ancestry.com, and now there's an image that I had restored previously of Herman Carter, and this is his before and after. Now the last thing I want to show you is if you do any restoration work, it's kind of fun to be able to do a before and after, which is what I've shown on my Facebook page. And let me show you quickly how I do that. I want to take this image and I want to create the canvas to be exactly double the size. So currently it's a 13 by 20. So I'm going to make this 26. And I want it to go to the left. So I'm going to do that, and then I'm going to bring in my original image. So I'm going to go File, Place, Embedded. And I'm going to find my original Herman Carter image right here. I'm going to place it over to the left of this image. Now one thing you'll notice, I got to hold the shift key down to make sure that it gives me the exact same ratio. You'll notice that the one difference in this picture now is that it has the same level adjustment that this one does. It's color corrected, so I'm going to pull this one above the layer. Let's hit enter to do the transform. I'm going to pull the color correction over here. So now the non-color corrected version is to the left and the color corrected version is to the right. And I can now save this as Herman Carter before and after. Before and after. Do number 2 here because I've already done one. And now I have a nice little representation of what it looked like before and what it looks like after. So just a quick tip on how to do this, and hope you enjoyed this quick look at Photoshop and how you can restore an image all the way from the internet, capture it, and then bring it in, color correct it, and clean it up a little bit. Thanks for watching.